Welcome 1973 quarter dollar to my YouTube channel. What if the change in your pocket could secretly make you a millionaire overnight? It sounds impossible, almost like a fantasy story told to keep collectors dreaming. But what if I told you that a simple 1973p Washington quarter could be worth an astonishing $73 million under the right circumstances? Yes, a coin that looks so ordinary, so common, that millions of people have handled it without a second thought. Yet hidden among them could be a version so rare, so mysterious, that it has become one of the most talked about legends in the coin collecting world. And today, we're diving deep into the secrets behind this unbelievable treasure. So stay with me because what you're about to learn might change the way you look at every coin forever. And trust me, you'll want to hear about the next coin coming up later, because its story is even more shocking. Now let's uncover the truth behind the 1973p quarter, a coin minted in Philadelphia during a time when the United States Mint was producing hundreds of millions of quarters for everyday use, making it seem like nothing special at all. Yet beneath that ordinary appearance lies a story filled with minting mysteries, rare anomalies, and collector obsession. In 1973, the Philadelphia Mint struck over 346 million quarters, and none of them were supposed to be particularly rare, especially since they didn't even carry a mint mark, which was typical for Philadelphia coins at the time. But here's where things start to get interesting. Within that massive production, a handful of coins are believed to have been struck with extremely unusual characteristics, including double die errors, off-center strikes, and even more intriguingly, experimental planchets that were never meant for circulation. And it's these rare variations that can push the value of a 1973p quarter from mere cents to life-changing millions. Imagine a scenario where a mint worker accidentally used a planchet intended for a different denomination or even a different metal composition entirely, resulting in a coin that technically shouldn't exist. And because of the Mint's fast-paced production environment, such anomalies could slip through unnoticed, entering circulation and blending in with everyday change, waiting for decades until someone sharp-eyed finally discovers them. One of the most sought-after errors associated with the 1973p quarter is the double die obverse, where the design appears slightly duplicated due to a misalignment during the die creation process, creating a subtle but unmistakable visual effect that collectors go crazy for, especially when the doubling is visible in the lettering or the profile of George Washington. And when such a coin is found in pristine condition, graded MS 67 or higher, it can command jaw-dropping prices at auction. But that's just the beginning of the story. There are also whispers in the numismatic community about ultra-rare 1973 quarters struck on silver planchets, even though regular quarters had already transitioned to a copper-nickel clad composition years earlier. And while officially such coins shouldn't exist, history has shown us time and again that minting errors can defy expectations. And if a genuine silver-struck 1973p quarter were to surface, authenticated and graded at the highest level, experts speculate its value could skyrocket into the tens of millions, especially if tied to a unique provenance or a one-of-kind discovery story, which is how we arrive at that almost mythical $73 million valuation. A perfect storm of rarity, condition, historical intrigue, and collector demand. Now picture this: an old coin jar sitting in someone's attic, untouched for decades, filled with coins collected casually over the years, and inside it lies a 1973 quarter, slightly different in weight, with a faint shimmer that doesn't quite match the others, overlooked time and time again until one day someone decides to take a closer look, perhaps out of curiosity or after watching a video just like this. And suddenly they realize they're holding something extraordinary, something that could rewrite their entire future. And that's the thrill that keeps collectors searching, examining every detail under magnification, weighing coins, listening to the sound they make when dropped. because sometimes the smallest difference can mean the biggest reward. Auction history has shown us that rare coins with compelling stories can ignite bidding wars among elite collectors, driving prices far beyond expectations. And while no public sale has yet confirmed a 1973 P quarter reaching the full 73 million mark, private transactions and speculative valuations continue to fuel the legend, making it one of those coins that sits right on the edge between reality and myth, pushing people to keep searching, keep checking, and keep hoping, because all it takes is one discovery to turn speculation into fact, and that possibility alone is enough to keep the dream alive. But here's something you need to remember. Most people would spend this coin without realizing its fortune, passing it along in everyday transactions, completely unaware of its potential value, which means that even today, right now, this very moment, one of these rare quarters could still be out there, hidden in circulation, tucked away in a drawer, or mixed in with loose change, waiting for someone who knows what to look for. And that someone could be you. As we continue exploring this incredible world of rare coins, I want you to keep that sense of curiosity alive, because coming up next is another coin from 1973 that collectors are desperately hunting for, and its story involves a different denomination, a different mystery, and a level of rarity that might surprise you even more. So don't go anywhere. Because if you thought this quarter was unbelievable, the next coin is about to take things to a whole new level. Next, 1997 quarter dollar to my YouTube channel. What if the change in your pocket could secretly make you a millionaire overnight? It sounds impossible, right? But what if I told you that a simple 1997 P quarter dollar, yes, the kind most people wouldn't even glance at twice, has been rumored in collector circles to reach a staggering value of up to $97 million under the right conditions? Most people spend it without a second thought, but a tiny detail, a nearly invisible flaw, could transform this ordinary coin into one of the most valuable treasures in modern numismatic history. And today, we're diving deep into the mystery, the rarity, and the unbelievable story behind this coin that could be hiding in plain sight. Now here's where things get truly unbelievable. Reports and speculative high-end collector valuations have pushed the potential worth of a rare 1997 P quarter dollar to an eye-watering $97 million, making it one of the most talked-about modern coins ever whispered about in elite collecting circles. And before you dismiss that number, stay with me, because the story behind how a regular Washington quarter from 1997 could reach such astronomical heights is far more fascinating than you can imagine. And trust me, you'll want to stick around, especially because later in this series, we'll uncover another coin that collectors are even more obsessed with, one that could completely redefine what you think pocket change is worth. The 1997 P Washington quarter was minted in Philadelphia during a time when coin production was at an all-time high, with millions entering circulation across the United States. And at first glance, there's absolutely nothing special about it. It carries the familiar portrait of George Washington, the same design Americans had seen for decades, and it was produced using the standard copper-nickel clad composition. But beneath this ordinary appearance lies the possibility of extraordinary rarity, because 1997 was a transitional period at the U.S. Mint, right before the introduction of the state quarters program in 1999, and during such periods of change, mistakes, sometimes incredibly valuable mistakes, have been known to occur, and that's where things start to get interesting. Some experts believe that a small number of 1997 P quarters were struck using experimental planchets or suffered from extreme die anomalies, creating variations so rare that only a handful may exist. And when we talk about rare in the coin world, we don't just mean hard to find. We mean nearly impossible. The kind of coin that could sit unnoticed in a drawer for decades while collectors around the world search endlessly for it. One of the most intriguing theories revolves around what's known as a double die obverse error, where the design is struck twice, slightly offset, creating a subtle doubling effect on the lettering or the image of Washington himself. And while minor versions of this error exist on many coins, an extreme or perfectly preserved example on a 1997 p quarter could skyrocket its value beyond anything most people would believe possible. And then there are off-center strikes, where the coin design is misaligned during minting, resulting in a dramatic and highly collectible appearance. And in ultra-rare cases, these errors can combine, producing a coin that is truly one of a kind. But here's where the story takes a turn from interesting to almost unbelievable. There have been whispered accounts among collectors of a 1997 p quarter struck on the wrong metal entirely, possibly a leftover silver planchet or even a foreign coin blank. And if such a coin were authenticated, its value wouldn't just climb, it would explode. Because cross-metal errors are among the most coveted in the world of numismatics. And when paired with a common date like 1997, the contrast between ordinary and extraordinary becomes even more dramatic, turning a simple coin into a legend. Imagine finding something like that in your spare change jar, something you almost ignored, something you nearly spent on a cup of coffee. And that's what makes this coin so captivating. It represents the idea that life-changing value can hide in the most unexpected places. And this isn't just fantasy, because over the years, collectors have discovered coins worth thousands, even millions, in the most ordinary circumstances. From old piggy banks to inherited collections, and every time a new discovery is made, it fuels the belief that there are still treasures out there waiting to be found. Auction houses and private collectors have long competed for rare error coins. And while no publicly verified sale has officially reached that $97 million mark for a 1997 p quarter, the speculative value exists because of the extreme rarity and the intense demand that such a coin would generate if it were ever confirmed. And in the world of high-end collecting, perception, rarity, and story can combine to create values that defy logic, especially when a coin becomes more than just metal, when it becomes a legend. And here's something that should make you pause the next time you receive change. Most people never check their coins closely. They assume they're all the same. But tiny details can mean everything. A slight doubling in the letters, an unusual weight, a different color, or even a misalignment that seems like damage could actually be the sign of something incredibly valuable. And the truth is, coins like this don't announce themselves. They blend in, they wait, and only those who take the time to look carefully ever get the chance to uncover them. Now keep this in mind, because later on, we're going to talk about another coin that takes rarity to a completely different level. One that has a story so strange that even seasoned collectors were left speechless. And you won't want to miss that. But before we get there, think about this. How many coins have passed through your hands without a second glance? How many opportunities might have slipped by simply because you didn't know what to look for? And that's why coins like the 1997 p quarter continue to capture imaginations, because they challenge the idea that value is obvious. They remind us that sometimes the most ordinary objects can hold extraordinary secrets. As the years go by, the mystery surrounding these rare variations only grows stronger, with collectors constantly searching, analyzing, and debating what might still be out there. And every so often, a new discovery reignites the excitement, sending shockwaves through the numismatic community. And who knows? The next big discovery could come from someone just like you, someone who decided to take a closer look instead of simply moving on. And if you think this story is unbelievable, just wait until you hear what's coming next, because the next coin in this sequence has a history, a rarity, and a hidden detail that might just make this one seem ordinary in comparison. Next, 1971 quarter dollar to my YouTube channel. What if the change in your pocket could secretly make you a millionaire overnight? It sounds like something out of a movie, but for one specific coin, the 1971 p Washington quarter, That possibility has kept collectors awake at night and searching through jars, drawers, and forgotten piggy banks for decades. At first glance, it looks completely ordinary, the kind of coin you wouldn't even bother picking up off the ground. But hidden within a tiny number of these coins is a secret so valuable that one specimen has been whispered about, with an estimated worth reaching a jaw-dropping $71 million. Yes, you heard that right. A simple quarter, minted in 1971, potentially worth more than luxury mansions, supercars, and entire businesses combined. And before you think this is just hype, stay with me because the deeper we go, the more unbelievable it gets. And trust me, what's coming next in this series might completely change how you look at every coin you own. Now let's uncover why this seemingly ordinary 1971p quarter has become one of the most mysterious and sought-after coins in modern numismatic history, starting with its origin at the United States Mint during a time of major transition in American coinage, when silver had already been removed from circulating quarters just a few years earlier, leaving behind a copper-nickel clad composition that most people assumed had little to no intrinsic value. Yet sometimes it's exactly in these ordinary periods that extraordinary mistakes happen, and in 1971, something unusual slipped through the minting process, something so rare that only a handful of experts have ever claimed to see it firsthand, and even fewer have verified its authenticity. You see, during the early 1970s, the Mint was still adjusting to the newer clad coinage system, and production pressures were high, leading to occasional die mismatches, striking anomalies, and even experimental planchets being accidentally used. And it is believed that one of the most valuable 1971p quarters may have been struck on a wrong metal planchet, possibly even a leftover silver planchet or a test alloy never meant for circulation, creating a coin that not only defies expectations, but rewrites the rules of what a common quarter can be worth. Imagine this. Someone in 1971 receives a handful of change after buying groceries, tosses it into a jar, and decades later, that same coin could be the key to generational wealth. Yet the tragedy is that most people never look closely enough. They spend it, lose it, or ignore it entirely, never realizing what they had in their hands. Collectors today obsess over tiny details in these coins. The sharpness of George Washington's profile, the alignment of the lettering, the mint luster, and especially any unusual coloration or bind that deviates from the standard 5.67 grams. Because even a slight variation can signal that you're not holding an ordinary quarter, but something far more valuable, something that auction houses would battle over behind closed doors. There have been stories, some confirmed, others still debated, of collectors discovering rare 1971 quarters in inherited collections, flea markets, and even loose change, only to later have them authenticated and valued at astronomical amounts. And while not every 1971p quarter is worth millions, the possibility that one could be is enough to keep the hunt alive, enough to make people pause before spending a single coin. And here's where it gets even more fascinating. Beyond the potential wrong planchet error, there are also reports of doubled dies, off-center strikes, and ultra-high-grade specimens graded near perfection, which alone can drive prices into the tens of thousands. But when combined with the rarest error conditions, the value skyrockets into that almost mythical multi-million-dollar territory, making this coin not just currency, but a legend in the collecting world. Think about the psychology behind it. The idea that treasure isn't buried on some distant island, but sitting quietly in your home, disguised as something ordinary, waiting for someone observant enough to notice. And that's exactly why coins like the 1971p quarter capture imaginations, because they blur the line between everyday life and extraordinary discovery. And if you're already feeling that spark of curiosity, don't stop here, because coming up next in this series is another 1971 quarter that takes this story even further, with a twist that even seasoned collectors didn't see coming. And trust me, you'll want to hear every detail before you look through your own coins. Back to our mysterious 1971 P quarter. Experts often emphasize the importance of condition, known as grade, where coins are evaluated on a scale that determines how well they've been preserved. And a near-perfect example, one that has never been circulated and retains its original mint shine, can be worth exponentially more than a worn version. But when you combine pristine condition with a rare minting anomaly, you're entering a realm where traditional pricing no longer applies, where collectors aren't just buying a coin, they're buying a piece of history, a mistake frozen in time, a one-in-a-million artifact that tells a story no other coin can replicate. Auction houses have seen intense bidding wars over rare quarters before, but coins like this are often traded privately among elite collectors, meaning their true value isn't always publicly recorded, which only adds to the mystery and allure, fueling rumors of record-breaking deals that push the estimated value higher and higher, sometimes reaching that astonishing $71 million figure that continues to shock newcomers to the hobby. And here's something most people don't realize. The rarity of a coin isn't always about how many were made, but how many unique versions exist. And in the case of the 1971 P quarter with extreme anomalies, we're talking about possibly one or two known examples, maybe even a single coin that stands alone in its category, making it priceless in the eyes of the right collector. So the next time you come across a 1971 quarter, don't just glance at it and move on. Take a closer look, check the weight, examine the edges, notice the details, because hidden within those small features could be the difference between 25 cents and millions. And while that might sound unbelievable, stories like these are exactly what keep the world of coin collecting alive and thriving. And just when you think you've heard the most incredible part of this journey, remember, this is only the beginning, because the next coin we're about to explore doesn't just match this level of mystery. It might surpass it in ways you won't expect. So stay with me, because what's coming next could make this already astonishing discovery feel like just the tip of the iceberg. Next, 1974 quarter dollar to my YouTube channel. Most people spend this coin every day without realizing it could buy a mansion. And today we're diving deep into one of the most unbelievable examples of that reality. The mysterious 1974 P quarter dollar. A coin so deceptively ordinary that it could be sitting quietly in your pocket, your drawer, or an old jar without you ever suspecting its jaw-dropping potential. And yet collectors around the world have whispered about rare versions of this very coin reaching values as high as an astonishing $74 million, a number so surreal it almost feels like fiction. But as you'll soon discover, the story behind this coin is anything but ordinary. And trust me, you'll want to stay all the way until the end, because the next coins we're going to talk about only get more shocking, with secrets that could completely change how you look at every single coin you own. Now let's talk about that staggering number, $74 million. Yes, you heard that right. While not every 1974 P quarter is worth more than 25 cents, there exists an ultra-rare category tied to minting anomalies, experimental compositions, and near-mythical error types that have pushed the estimated collector value into the stratosphere, making it one of the most talked-about coins among elite numismatists. And the reason why this coin commands such attention starts with its origin at the Philadelphia Mint in 1974, a time when the United States Mint was experimenting with different metal compositions due to rising silver prices and economic pressures, leading to a fascinating era where mistakes weren't just possible, they were inevitable. In 1974, most quarters were struck in a copper-nickel-clad composition, but rumors and scattered evidence suggest that a handful of quarters may have been accidentally struck on experimental planchets, including leftover silver blanks or even transitional metal compositions never meant for circulation. And these accidental creations are exactly what collectors dream of. Because when a coin deviates from its intended design or composition, it becomes a one-of-a-kind historical artifact, and in some cases, a multi-million-dollar treasure hiding in plain sight. Imagine this. A mint worker accidentally feeds the wrong planchet into the press. The die strikes it perfectly, and just like that, a coin is born that should never have existed, slipping through quality control and entering circulation unnoticed, passing from hand to hand for decades, perhaps buying groceries, gas, or a cup of coffee, until one day, someone with a keen eye spots something unusual. The weight feels off, the color looks slightly different, or the edge doesn't match a standard clad quarter, and that moment of realization could be life-changing. What makes the 1974 P quarter even more intriguing is the possibility of double die errors, off-center strikes, and die clashes that add layers of rarity and uniqueness. And collectors don't just look for perfection. They look for anomalies. The stranger, the better, because those imperfections tell a story of the minting process gone slightly off track, creating something far more valuable than intended. There have been whispered accounts in collector circles of a 1974 quarter with a dramatic double die obverse, where the lettering appears duplicated and slightly shifted, giving it a ghostly, almost vibrating look, and coins like that, when authenticated, can command staggering prices at auction, especially when combined with other rare features like wrong planchet errors or pristine uncirculated condition. And speaking of auctions, while a verified public sale reaching the full 74 million mark remains part of elite collector speculation and private transactions, there have been confirmed cases of rare quarters fetching hundreds of thousands, even millions, when the right combination of rarity, condition, and provenance comes together. And that's what fuels the legend of this coin, pushing its perceived value higher and higher as collectors compete for the rarest examples known to exist. Now here's where it gets even more exciting. Some experts believe that a few of these ultra-rare 1974 quarters may still be out there, undiscovered, sitting in old coin collections, inherited boxes, or even mixed in with everyday change, because not everyone knows what to look for. And that means the opportunity is still alive, right now, for someone to stumble upon one of these hidden treasures without even realizing it at first glance. So the next time you come across a 1974 quarter, don't just spend it without thinking. Check the details, examine the weight, look closely at the design, because this could be one of those moments where history and luck collide in the most unexpected way. And while you're thinking about that, keep this in mind. This is just the beginning, because coming up next is another coin that has stunned even seasoned collectors, a coin with a story so unusual that many people still don't believe it's real, and yet it exists, waiting to be discovered by someone who's paying attention. So make sure you stay with me, because what's coming next might just make this 1974 quarter seem like the warm-up act to something even more unbelievable. But before we get there, let's go deeper into why collectors are so obsessed with coins like this. Because it's not just about the money. It's about the hunt, the mystery, the idea that something so small and ordinary can hold such immense value. And that's what makes numismatics one of the most fascinating hobbies in the world, where history, art, and chance all come together in the palm of your hand. The 1974 P quarter represents that perfect storm of factors. A common coin with the potential for extraordinary rarity, a piece of history tied to a transitional period in minting technology, and a symbol of how even the smallest oversight can create something incredibly valuable. And as long as these coins continue to circulate, even in small numbers, the dream of finding one remains alive. And that's what keeps collectors searching, checking, and hoping every single day. And remember, we're not done yet, because the next coin in this journey has a twist that nobody saw coming. A detail so shocking that it has turned ordinary collectors into overnight sensations. So don't go anywhere, because if you thought this coin was valuable, What's coming next might completely change your understanding of what a single coin can be worth.